Good evening. This is Frank the Vamp, and we are coming straight up from Fangs Out, my channel, to honor Jason Voorhees. For many, many years, Jason has been killing teenage, sex-seeking buffoons, and he's been keeping Camp Crystal Lake clear of those for years. So it was only time to just honor Jason and go through the whole Friday the 13th series and ranking them from worst to best. Now, let me just say something about the Friday the 13th series. It got really campy. I mean, it not only did it jump the shark at some point, it jumped the shark. They had sex with the shark, and then aliens ate it. I mean, it was really, really out there. I mean, it was so out there that it went to space. Yes, it did happen. So, even though the movies were campy, we can always count on one thing. Jason has always been brutal, has always been very frightening, and number one, he's always been very entertaining. However, there are, as the series went on, obviously there had to be a decline, and once we got to it's been the 7, 8, 9, 10, and you get to making so many movies. You make 12 total, right? Until you just say, man, where is this gonna go? And people run out of ideas, and rightly so. And for years I thought that this was gonna be an easy decision to name the worst one. To be honest, for years, I thought it was going to be Jason Goes to Hell. I mean, for many, many reasons, which I'm not going to talk about just now, because this is I'm going to cover two movies on this video, so I'll try to make them short and sweet, because these are the bad ones. And there's not a lot of, sometimes I like to talk at length about bad movies, but these two, they're not as entertaining as the other ones, and truly, the title, after rewatching some of the scenes and some of the, and the ideas of it, definitely Jason Goes to Hell is not the worst. Jason Takes Manhattan is the worst. After the very low budget, right after New Blood, and we have seen much better, Jasons up to this point. We got to Take Manhattan, and this was supposed to end the series, and this got me really excited. I remember going to the movies and saying, man, Jason is going to go to New York, and it's going to be cool because there's a bunch of hoodlums and a bunch of and New York being so violent, getting the bad reputation, which, by the way, the state of New York hated this movie because of the bad publicity that it got. I think one of the jokes out of the movie that I actually laughed at is like, there's our teenagers are running away from Jason in the middle of Manhattan, and then they go like, oh my God, there's a maniac with a knife following us, and it's like the New Yorkers just answer, well, welcome to New York. That's just normal. But it didn't deliver what it promised. In fact, most of the running time doesn't even take place in New York. It takes place on a stupid ship, which should have been Under Siege. Jason takes the boat. In most of you could tell that some of the kills were not intended to happen on the boat, making them ridiculous. If you're gonna go really over the top on New York, it would have been really cool. Like, I don't know, you could have made so many things. You could have make them, like, I don't know, climb one of the tall buildings there, get on top of those big screen TVs on Times Square. I don't know, do something outrageous. But the movie is boring. Something about Jason, uh, you know, having this switch revert him into a little kid where, geez, something about drowning, and I have no idea. I mean, the plot's all over the place. The kills are lame. Even the one that is funny, it's the one where the boxer thinks, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna box Jason," and spoiler alert, gets his head knocked out in a funny fashion, which I don't think that's possible. But if it was, it wouldn't be clean off. But it was just the way it did happen. It was funny, but for the most part, I felt ripped off because they had told me that, hey, you know what? Yeah, Jason was supposed to, take Manhattan, and all I got is a very, I will say, a very, by the numbers Friday the 13th movie, directed by Rob Hedden back on 1989. I remember that this was being 1989 and me being about 15 or 16. I can't remember when I watched this. I was pumped up because I was like, hey, you know what? This is one of the, I can't remember, but I think this may have been the very first. I can't remember if I watched 7, but this may have been one of the first Jasons that I watched on, in the big screen. And yeah, I mean, it didn't do so well in the box office. It's just very, 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 disappointing. Like I said, it's not without its merit. I mean, and we got Kane Hodder as Jason. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, but it's not my cup of tea. So coming up at number 12 on the worst is Jason Takes Manhattan. So it's Friday the 13th Part 8. Coming in number 11 is Jason Goes to Hell. On second viewing or third viewing, I can't remember. First, I thought that this was for sure the worst because basically Jason appears in the beginning and Jason appears in the end. So when Jason gets blown out in the very beginning of the movie, I thought like, okay, this is interesting. I remember that. I remember being a little older and watching this and saying this is kind of weird. All right, so I wonder where they're gonna go with this. And they pretty much went into a very strange plot where some dude ate Jason's heart, and he turned him into some kind of demon possessed dude, and then he got passed around, and then Jason keeps body hopping the whole movie, and it's brutal. And there's one cool character that supposedly knows everything, and there's, it's just very strange. However, well, let me tell you, on second viewing, it didn't turn out to be so bad. I mean, it is laughable, and it's just very, how can I say? Even though it's kind of like, well, it's not the same. Halloween 3 is like, they're trying something new, right, for the series. You can say that this is kind of like their Halloween 3, where they try to go in a completely different direction. And it's it's an effort. It's not particularly my cup of tea. And he suffers some of the worst acting. Not that the Friday the 13th franchise has awesome acting, but Jason Goes to Hell is just hard to love. But I'm gonna give him extra points for trying to be original. Yeah, the There's a lot of over the top kills. I love the fact that you can see Jason's reflection on the mirror when he's doing the kills, and so he's just kind of possessing people. So it's a lot of ideas were introduced. The problem, and there's no real rhyme or reason. So this is one of those movies that you kind of forgive them because it's Friday the 13th. So it's like this is probably the mother of tears. This is the over the top movie that it's fun to see, and maybe it gets it gets such a bad flag because you think, oh my gosh, I mean, Jason's not even in it, and it's a bad. Remember, people used to say that about part Halloween 3 for a long time. People hate it, and they will say this is not even part. Like I said, they even had me believing it for a long time. I just thought that, hey, you just everybody just kept saying it, and they kind of brainwashed me into it, and so I had to see it for myself to realize that. Jason Goes to Hell does have a lot of cool ideas. It just doesn't have direction. It does have the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead. It's introduced, which kind of like makes me excited because you think about it. Maybe this is where Ash, could be actually involved into the. Maybe we can do Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, and that kind of explain why, it's where we can have, the actual threesome there in one day. Who knows? And it will be like the coolest movie ever if we could ever have that. And but yeah, I mean, so it does have some interesting ideas. It just doesn't have direction. And it's B-movie fun. It's a lot of brutal. I mean, like I said, if this was just a supernatural film that you just win, it probably will get extra points. So it's kind of not fair. So definitely, I will not think of Jason Goes to Hell anymore as basically the worst. But it does miss the opportunity of having Kane Hodder, play Jason again for the and doesn't use him like he should, and it's very very is very very so sad that it was kind of a wasted opportunity to make a better film, a much creative film, but it just clearly just has no direction. And I mean, to be honest, these two movies, Jason Takes My Hand and Jason Goes to Hell are hard to watch. I mean, and they're not as good. But to be honest, like I at least. Watching Grand Prix Andrews, like it so much that I could appreciate it more as a B movie laugher. So definitely, I would say, it's Jason Goes to Hell is better than Jason Takes Manhattan, but they're both, in my book, they're the worst of the litter. So there you go. So you watch me rant for 2. So stay tuned as for the month of October we will continue covering the franchise and see where it's going to take us. So sleep well, little campers of Crystal of I'm going to say Camp Crystal Lake, but I'm getting tired. Have nice dreams. See you next video.